Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, conference delegates, thank you all very much for your warm welcome and your kind invitation to join you for this gala dinner in Derry this evening. The last speech I gave in here was 3 months ago at my wedding. And I have to say, tonight's is no less nerve-wracking, but I apologise in advance, it will be a lot less entertaining. I'm so pleased, though, to be asked to address this event and share with you some of my thoughts on how I, in my new role as Environment Minister, can help support the important work of the Federation and of housing associations. Some of you will know me, and Cameron outlined, due to my prior role as a social development spokesperson for my party, prior to my appointment as Minister. So I do have, I hope, a fairly good understanding of the scale of the housing challenge and, in many places, crises that we all face. In that role, I have to say I was never too shy of making robust statements. However, given my new ministerial role, tonight's speech will be a bit more tempered. I am here all night, however, so some of you are sure to get the post-watershed version later on. In my new role as Environment Minister, I am still committed to helping support your vital work. And I want to touch now on some of the important work of my department in reforming the planning system in advance of planning functions, the transfer of planning functions to local councils in 2015. These reform measures will lay the foundations for a complete overhaul of the development plan and development management processes, creating a more efficient, effective system characterised by local plan making and faster decisions on planning decisions. I also want to highlight the planning policy measures I hope can further support the delivery of social housing here. Decent housing provides a platform for people starting out, a decent place to raise a family, a place to live in comfort and security in later years, and is especially vital for people with special needs. Good work is being done, and successes deserve praise. In 2012-2013, housing associations again met key targets in delivering the social housing development programme, with starts on over 2,300 new social and affordable homes. This is to be commended, although I, like I'm sure all of you, would like to see more ambitious targets and would relish the opportunity to meet more ambitious targets. But this does still represent a substantial achievement in the context of ongoing pressures on budgets and against a backdrop of much uncertainty created by the economic downturn. But the challenges don't diminish. The latest housing needs assessment by Northern Ireland Housing Executive suggests an estimated requirement for around 2,000 new builds per year. The programme for government target is 6,000 new social houses by 2015. So how do we go about meeting this challenge, and what can I, as DOE Minister, and indeed my department, do more specifically in the planning system to help? Planning has an important role in managing housing growth and shaping development in ways that promote an urban renaissance and help build balanced communities. Specifically, the planning system helps deliver social units through the development plan system, through effective development management, and through planning policy measures. The development plan remains the main mechanism to facilitate the provision of social housing by zoning land or by indicating through key site requirements where a proportion of a zoned site may be required for social housing. This is the approach set out in Planning Policy Statement 12, Housing and Settlements. It is a critical pathway to the delivery of social housing. Plan allocation is reformed by a range of factors, but one of the most important of these is the Housing Needs Assessment prepared by NIHE. This assessment influences how plans go about facilitating a mix and balance of housing tenures and types to meet the identified range of housing needs. Plan preparation has in the past been far too slow, and you all know that better than I do. But the ongoing programme of planning reform that I referred to in my opening remarks includes new provisions aimed at speedier delivery of development plans. New provisions contained in the Planning Act 2011 provide for a two-tier planning system comprising a plan strategy and a local policies plan. Plans will also be scrutinised by independent examination as opposed to lengthy public inquiry process, and there is also a legislative requirement upon the new councils to prepare a timetable for managing the whole process. These provisions ensure that plans will, in the future, be prepared faster and, importantly, be more responsive to local needs, including changing social and affordable housing need. I have also recently instructed my officials to commence initial preparatory work on development plans that will be taken forward by the new councils post-2015. This important work is being carried out in conjunction with the transition committees, established with councils as part of the transfer arrangements, and will ensure that the new councils are able to hit the ground running and produce their own plans as soon as possible following transfer. But it's not just improved plan making that can help deliver social housing. My department's planning reforms are aimed at ensuring faster decisions and the right decisions on planning applications, as well as more predictable outcomes. These are issues that I know are very important to housing associations, where funding for projects is often dependent upon timely planning decisions. The move from development control to development management represents a culture change from planning as regulation to a much more positive activity which seeks to enable appropriate development to support the economic and social needs of Northern Ireland. Practical measures such as a streamlined planning application scheme with local councils and the use of pre-application discussions or PADs to front-load the planning process are proving their worth in terms of speedier, more effective and higher quality service to customers. By way of example, here in Derry City, a scheme by Apex Housing Association for the redevelopment of Culdaff Gardens with 27 social homes was dealt with from start to finish in just 5 months. This was achieved through close working between planning and Apex, and as a result of Apex's understanding of the department's requirements and their submission of a well-considered proposal that could be dealt with quickly. Also here in Derry, a scheme by Fold Housing, I'm waiting for the cheer, at Skeg Link for 280 social homes as part of a larger zoning of 1,400 houses is an excellent example of the type of high-quality mixed tenure scheme that can be achieved through collaborative, flexible working between applicants and the planning department. In fact, here in Derry, recent approved developments total well over 400 social units spread across 6 sites in the Derry, which is great and is welcomed, but we all know that it's only scratching the surface of what is needed here. Just last week, I approved an Article 31 application at the Glenmona site in West Belfast. That includes 450 houses, half of which I expect to be social homes in an area where they are much needed. But as well as the houses, that application included an education campus, care facilities and business units in an area crying out not just for social housing but for important regeneration. These kind of developments have a massive impact, not just in meeting housing need, but in the future development and regeneration of Derry, Belfast, and every other city and town across the north. I am determined that the development management system should be as fast and as effective as possible, so that this investment potential can be unlocked as quickly as possible. Last, you'll be glad to hear, but certainly not least, planning policy is an important area where I believe reforms can, in time, deliver additional social and affordable housing units. Many of you will be aware that my officials have been engaging with the ESD to develop proposals requiring developers to contribute a proportion of new developments as social or affordable housing. I recognise that the introduction of developer contributions needs to take account of wider economic circumstances, and I appreciate that in the current economic context, these measures are unlikely, unfortunately, to deliver a significant volume of additional homes. However, I do believe it's important that we move forward with the development of a system of contributions now, rather than a rushed implementation when housing market conditions improve. I will continue to engage with the DSD Minister on this matter, and I hope that we can agree a joint consultation. It'll be the first thing we've agreed on ever, on proposals so that the system can be put in place as soon as possible. At the same time, I'm proposing far-reaching changes to how existing planning policy is configured. Currently, planning policy is contained within a raft of planning policy statements containing detailed operational planning policy used to determine proposals and inform the content of development plans. My officials are currently working on a revised planning policy framework in time for the transfer of functions to councils. The new single Strategic Planning Policy Statement, or SPPS, will consolidate existing planning policy statements into a single document that will be much more strategic in focus, simpler, and, thankfully, shorter. I hope that we will have this draft policy ready for public consultation early next year, and I would encourage all of you with an interest in social and affordable housing provision to become involved in that process as well. All of these actions are taking place in the context of the transfer of planning powers to new local councils in April 2015. This represents the biggest organisational change for planning in over a generation and poses huge challenges for both councils and the department. However, I firmly believe that the benefits of reform far and away exceed the potential pitfalls. It is a good thing. It is about bringing planning back to where it belongs and addressing a democratic deficit that has existed for far too long. Now I'm conscious that I'm standing between a planner and 150 people and their dinner, so I will wrap up. But in conclusion, the challenges in relation to social housing are significant, but I am committed to ensuring that my department acts in ways which support the delivery of new units to meet the identified need. Reforming the plan-making and development management processes so that they are as efficient and effective as we can make them is an important part of the picture. My proposal for developer contributions towards social and affordable housing offers the potential for significant additional units once the recovery in the housing market takes hold. I look forward to working with the sector in implementing these and other reforms, and I'm ready to listen to your thoughts on how I, as Environment Minister, can further assist the sector in the important work that you do. Thank you.